streaming setups, which I'm very excited about, that should allow you to check out what we're doing from the Principal Center on a variety of different platforms. So that's one thing that we're doing. The second thing that we're doing right now is we are going live with a surprise episode of the Ascend Live show. So it's been a while since we've done an episode of Ascend Live. I think the last time was maybe October. And I found myself saying a lot of the same things over and over again, and wanted to refer people to those things that I had already shared, the strategies and the systems that I had already been referring people to. But this weekend, yesterday, in fact, I put together a bit of a quiz, or what you might think of as kind of an advice bot that will guide you through some questions that will help you figure out where you might be getting stuck in the Ed Leadership job search, or if you are just getting started, where you might get stuck based on what you have and have not done already, and what signals you've gotten from the process. You know, what traction you've gotten so far. So we are calling this the quiz for now, and what I'm going to do in this episode is give you a sneak preview. You can actually try this out now. It's not fully functional, but I wanted to give you a chance to try this out and see what you think, and let me know if anything turns out strange in your estimation. But I wanted to give you a preview of this, let you try it, and get your feedback on it. Again, it's not fully functional, but the advice should be correct. So that's what we're trying to figure out here. And the goal here is to help you self-assess, to check your progress, to see if things are working as intended in the job search. So as you may recall, the process that we guide people through in the Ascend Masterclass has 5 stages for getting the Ed Leadership job you are looking for. There are 5 stages, and the first of those is to discover your leadership superpowers, to figure out what is it that makes me stand out for the kind of job that I'm looking for, what really are my strengths, what makes me a great candidate, what makes me a not-to-be-missed candidate. And it's crucial to do that thinking, because often people focus on what they're good at for their current job. You know, if you're a classroom teacher, you're a stellar teacher, maybe you're a national board certified teacher, maybe you get great results with kids. Well, if you are applying for an instructional coach job or an assistant principal job, that's great. A lot of those skills will carry over, but you can't go into an interview for an assistant principalship and say, well, I'm a really great teacher, I'm really good at planning lessons, because that's not part of an assistant principal's job. So you really have to think, what experience do I have that I've gotten in the jobs that I've already held that prepare me for that next level? The next step is to recruit your references. Stage 2 is to recruit your references so that you can get feedback on what your superpowers are, but also so that you can enlist the support of people who know you, who know your work, who can champion your cause as you search for your next leadership role. And we want to, of course, ask those people for recommendation letters, but we also want to turn them into advocates so that they can kind of put out feelers for you and see what jobs are out there that you might be a good fit for and put in a good word for you, and not wait until they get called for a reference check. This is a mistake I see a lot of people making, to just wait until it's time for that final reference check, and then they spring it on their references. They say, hey, I've interviewed for a job, you might get a call for a reference, I'd appreciate it if you put in a good word for me. And the reference is kind of taken aback, they're kind of stunned. They say, oh, okay, well, thanks for letting me know. But they're not really in a position at that point to help you very much. And in some cases, they're going to be mad at the short notice. They might be mad that you're suddenly trying to leave them. And I've heard from numerous people over the years who've said, my references told me straight up they were going to give me a bad recommendation so I wouldn't leave. So there are all kinds of strange things that can happen when you spring a surprise on your references. One of them is that they might just not get back to the person. We had one client recently find out that one of her references was simply never calling people back, and as a result, she was missing out on some job opportunities. So get your references involved early, enlist their support, turn them into your champions, get their feedback and their input on what experience you should be gaining in the meantime, and get recommendation letters from them. The third stage is to craft your application argument, and specifically to write a resume and cover letter that will get you in the door. You have to get an interview if you're going to get the job, and you don't get an interview by being good at interviews or being good at your job. You get an interview by demonstrating that you are good at your job and that you will be worth interviewing on paper. You have to do this on paper, my friends. And this is a little bit counterintuitive to a lot of people because they think, well, I am good, I have a great reputation, I'm great at what I do, I would be great in an interview. But remember, before the interview, before you even get an interview, you are reduced to the information that you provide on paper. So I heard from somebody this past week who said, I've applied for 200 jobs over the past 5 years and I have had 0 interviews. So this is kind of what prompted me to put this quiz together for you, because there are some things to me that are immediately obvious that I'm finding aren't self-evident to a lot of people who are coming across my material. And to save you the trouble of having to reach out and ask, and to save me the trouble of having to say the same things over and over again, I've built some of these recommendations into the quiz, which I will show you in just a moment. And I would love your feedback on this. Please email me or just let me know in some way what your feedback on this quiz is. And my feedback, I emailed this person back directly because she reached out to ask the question. I said, I can tell you right now, 100% confidence, that the problem that you are encountering is that your resume and cover letter are not very good. I know they're not very good because you've sent them out 200 times and have gotten 0 interviews. And if you are sending out significant numbers of applications, you should be getting a significant number of interviews. About 20% of the time, you should get an interview. So that recommendation is baked into the quiz or the bot that you're about to see in several places, but it's all about getting your foot in the door so that you get an interview. Then it's about doing well in that interview, right? So that you advance to the second round and become a finalist and so on. So Train for Interview Day is the 4th stage in our process. Train for Interview Day means practice. Practice on video, whip your phone out and record yourself answering some questions. One of our Ascend Masterclass clients over the weekend sent me like 30 videos. He just powered through them, put them in our video coaching app, SidMe, that we use for this purpose, and I gave him some feedback on a few of them. I've got to get back to him on the rest of those. But there's no substitute for practice. If you think that you are going to walk into an interview and just wow everybody by winging it, I've got another story to tell you about what's actually going to happen. You will do better if you practice, and you will do much better if you practice a lot, and you will continue to do better the more you practice. So use whatever time you have available. If you don't have an interview this week, use this week to practice for the interview that you hope to have soon, and you will not regret it. And then the 5th stage is all about persistence. I call this stage Race to the Finish Line. And a lot of people think they're going to hit the finish line after 3 or 4 or 5 applications. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes you get lucky. But let me tell you, for most people, this is a grind. It is a climb to the top. I remember Amy and I were hiking. We were backpacking through Europe when we were in college, and one time we were climbing this really tall mountain in the Swiss Alps. I mean, it probably wasn't really that tall, but we were tired. And these German guys were coming down from the top, and we asked them how much farther it was to the top, because we had been hiking all day. We were like 6 hours into this hike. But by the end, it was like a 6-hour hike, and they were like, oh, it's just 100 more meters, 100 more meters. And we were not prepared for how far it actually was. It was a lot more than 100 meters. And I am here to tell you that you can succeed if you persist. But if you say to yourself, well, I'm only going to put in 3 more applications, then I'm done for the year. That is not a mindset, and that is not an action plan that is going to get you the result you want. So you've got to be prepared to play the numbers game, to play the long game, and to stick with this, because this is probably more competitive than anything you have ever done. Competing at the level that you're thinking about right now, if you're looking for a new ed leadership job, this is probably the most competitive thing you've ever done, unless you were like a college athlete. In that case, maybe you know the kind of competition that I'm talking about, but this is some serious competition. So to help you figure out where in this process you might be getting hung up, or you might get hung up in the future, I wanted to share with you a draft of my self-assessment quiz. Now, the part that's not finished is the email follow-up and the recommendations and the customized report. Those kind of things take a couple of weeks to build, but I think I got the logic all mapped out today. So the recommendations that it gives you should be accurate. And what I need you to do, if you would like to try this, is when you get to the end of it, take a screenshot or print it, or if you're doing it it should work from your phone, snap a screenshot with your phone and save it, because I don't currently have a way for you to get back to that recommendation yet. And if you answer the questions differently next time, you might get a different recommendation. So what I would love to have from you is your feedback on whether these recommendations ring true, whether this makes sense. And if they don't make sense, if the recommendation you get at the end does not make any sense, let me know, and I'm happy to talk with you about your situation. I don't promise to provide free email coaching to everybody who writes to me normally, but I would love some feedback on this quiz. So I would be happy to follow up with you and spend a little bit of time on this with you in exchange for your testing this out and letting me know how it works. So you can find the quiz at principalcenter.com/job. principalcenter.com/job. And what I'm going to do now is get out of my slides here and take you to the actual quiz. And okay, I think we are here. Let me go back to the start of it because I think I was in the middle here testing it out. All right, so when you go to principalcenter.com/job, you'll get redirected to our quiz software here, and you'll see what's my pathway to the principalship score. Now, you're not actually going to get a score. I need to change that. You're going to get a recommendation. So what you do is you just click the green button here to get started, and it's going to ask you what kind of job you're looking for: principal, assistant principal, dean of students, superintendent, or other. I will tell you, if you select superintendent, you're going to get a much shorter quiz here, because the superintendent or head of school or central office, if you're looking for like an executive director job, those searches are much more idiosyncratic, and there are fewer patterns that I can refer to and say, this is what I see all the time. These tend to be more one-off kind of circumstances. So you're welcome to choose that and send me more information about your search if you would like. I'm going to go through a different path here just to show you what this is like. Let's select assistant principal. So that's the first question. And then it says, okay, you're looking for an assistant principalship. How does that compare to your current role? And if this is a lateral move, you select the first option. If it's a promotion, which I'm guessing is going to be the case for a lot of people, you select the second option. Sometimes maybe you've been an assistant principal, you've been on parent leave, maybe you've had a kid and are stepping back into it. Or maybe you step back to the classroom and now you think, okay, now is a good time for me to move back into the assistant principalship. Great. Or maybe you are wanting to move from principal to assistant principal. I hear that from people from time to time too. So select whichever option is the case there. And if you select that one, let me know. I'm not 100% confident on the logic of the quiz. There's a lot of logic baked into this, and this is why we have to use special software for it. So let me know what you find there. I'm going to select it would be a promotion. Okay. Never been an AP before. All right. So my next question for you is, do people in your current position typically make this move directly? And this is where I want you to be really thoughtful about the viability of the path that you are undertaking. All right. So this one is in here a little bit as just a I don't think I actually do anything logic-wise with this question. This is in here just as something for you to think about. Because if you are trying to skip levels, if you think, okay, I can do this, I can become the principal of this 4,000 student high school, but all of the other principals that they have ever hired have had lots of experience as an AP. I've never been an AP, I'm a classroom teacher, but I think I can do it. Hey, I don't want to talk you out of trying, but I do want you to pursue a path that is likely to set you up for success and not disappointment. So just think about that. So I'm going to select, it's common for people in my position to move directly into the kind of role that I'm seeking, given where you're starting from. This one asks what education sectors you're seeking to work in. I don't think this reflects the recommendation, so check whatever is the case there. Then the next question is also intended to be a little bit of a self-reflection, but it's also part of the diagnostic. So this is baked into the logic here. How many letters of recommendation do you have? If you have 11 or more, I can tell you this is not going to be the problem. If you have 11, 12, 15 recommendation letters, you're in great shape. Don't worry about that. If you have 1 or 2 recommendation letters, that's a problem. You need to get more, and I suggest you shoot for 10. In some cases, it's possible to get more than 10. Shooting for 10, we had some clients this past fall who really took that seriously and immediately got 10. Like, this is very doable if you realize that this is what you need. So this quiz is intended to be somewhat educational. It's intended to inform you of things that I'm going to recommend anyway when we cross that bridge, and it's designed to kind of educate you on the process. So I'll say 1 or 2 recommendation letters here, and then it asks you how many jobs you have applied for. So if you say I've applied for more than 50 jobs, then that tells me that you're very persistent. Good for you. That is awesome that you are sticking with it and really being an aggressive action taker. But it's also going to tell us if your resume and cover letter are not doing their job. And I'll know that, and hopefully I've programmed the logic of this quiz correctly to detect if you are applying enough, but your applications are not good enough to actually get you an interview. So I'm going to select I've applied for more than 50 jobs, and then it's going to ask you how many interviews. So I'm going to say 1 interview. You can select whichever is true for you. And then I'm going to say, going to answer how many second round interviews I've had. So we'll say none. How's your confidence level? Fairly confident. What challenges do you have? You can check whichever ones apply there. How do you feel about confidential reference checks? We're getting almost to the end here. And I'm going to say I'm confident my references are giving me their full support. And then what's the main reason you haven't applied for more jobs? This, my friends, is also a little bit of a gut check here. So this one might make you a little bit uncomfortable, but I hear this from people all the time. Oh, I really like this district. I don't want to work anywhere else. So that will take you through it. Again, we do not have this fully hooked up yet. I'm going to go ahead and put my name and email in here. And hopefully you're okay with me contacting you if you fill this out. You can just put zeros or something if you don't want to be contacted, or put my email address. But I would appreciate you helping me test this either way, even if you put fake contact information. Just don't put somebody else's contact information other than mine. We'll go ahead and hit send my results. Okay, so as you may recall, what I answered on the quiz was that I had applied over 50 times and only had like 1 interview. So if that is the case, then here's the recommendation, and you'll get a custom recommendation based on your answers. The recommendation in this case is you've got to improve your application materials, because your resume and cover letter have 1 job, and that's to get you an interview. And based on the answers that I selected, they're not getting that job done. So there's a little more information and education here. And my advice is improve your application materials. If you select a different set of choices, you will get a different recommendation. And my question for you is, does the recommendation that I gave you make sense? Does it ring true? Is it illogical? Did you say I applied for 50 jobs and then my recommendation is you need to apply for more jobs? If something like that happens, please let me know. The place you can take this quiz is at principalcenter.com/job. So I wanted to walk you through that, ask for your feedback, ask for your help in testing that out. Again, I will not be able to send you the results yet because this is not hooked up to our email system. There's a ton of coding that's involved in hooking this up. It'll probably take a week or 2. And I want to make sure that we have the recommendation engine programmed correctly before we get to that, hooking it up to our automation system. So if you would take a screenshot or print your results, I will not be able to send you your results yet. You've got to save that page and just screenshot it. That's the easiest thing to do. You can do this from your phone. Go to principalcenter.com/job and screenshot the recommendation page that you get at the end. Then what I would love to invite you to do is email me and let me know if it makes sense. Feel free to tell me about your situation. I will be happy to get back to you if you have questions, again, which I don't normally do for people who are not part of the Ascend Masterclass, but I just want to make sure this thing works because it's going to save me so much time giving the same advice over and over again. And it basically is some free, not quite fully automated coaching, but I wanted to take my best recommendations, that, the very same things I would tell you if we were talking on the phone, and program those into this quiz. So again, you can take the Ed Leadership Job Search Quiz, our little self-assessment that we've got under construction now, at principalcenter.com/job. And if you're watching this much later as part of our archives of the Ascend Live show, we have the full archives. This is our 35th episode, and we have all of them available to our members. So if you're a member, you can log in at dashboard.principalcenter.com and watch our other episodes anytime. We will stick with an irregular schedule for now for this show, but I thought I would bring this back as a way of testing our different streaming platforms today, and also to get your feedback on the Ed Leadership Job Search Quiz. So let me know what you think at principalcenter.com/job. Go through that quiz. Feel free to go through it a couple times. You can put in my contact information at the end if you want, and just let me know what you get as a result. Screenshot your result and send it to me, Justin at principalcenter.com, and I would love to hear from you. All right, that's going to do it for now. Talk soon. Thanks so much for tuning in. Bye-bye.